was a chilly December night, just a week before Christmas. My family had a tradition of celebrating the holidays in our summer house in the quiet Hamptons of New York. Since most of the properties in the area were owned by wealthy individuals who had multiple homes, the Hamptons remained serene during this time of year. My dad and I arrived at the house before the rest of the family. My mom and sister were still busy with work until the following weekend. With my dad retired and my winter break in full swing, we decided to head to the Hamptons early. Each of us had our own bedrooms in the house, situated on a peaceful dead-end road. After my dad took care of the heating and water, I settled into my room with my trusty PS3, spending most of the first day engrossed in video games. On the first night, a snowstorm blanketed the surroundings, prompting our early arrival to avoid challenging road conditions. The next morning, as I groggily made my way to the kitchen, my dad asked when I had built a snowman. Perplexed, I looked out the window to find a snowman in the backyard, adorned with stick arms and a carved smile. I denied any involvement, and my dad speculated that it might be the work of neighbor kids, dismissing it as an innocent prank. However, the situation took a dark turn the following night. Startled awake by a thump on my window, I cowered under my blankets. After summoning the courage to investigate, I was horrified to discover another snowman just outside my window, this time with an angry expression. Panicking, I called for my dad, who, upon seeing the ominous creation, decided to confront the neighbors in the morning. That night, I sought refuge in my sister's room. The next morning, my dad approached the neighbor's house, only to find it empty. No cars in the driveway suggested they weren't even in town. The strange occurrences ceased for several days until Christmas Eve night, when our extended family had gathered. A knock on the front door instead of the doorbell heightened our anxiety. A voice on the other side pleaded for entry, claiming to have no one to spend Christmas with. With no peephole or windows, we couldn't identify the person. Fearing the worst, my dad instructed the stranger to leave before resorting to calling the police. The mysterious visitor complied, but on Christmas morning, we discovered a note taped to our front door. The message, to the best of my memory, conveyed a desire for harmless fun, but revealed a deep loneliness. The realization dawned upon us that the person behind the note and the unsettling snowmen might be mentally unstable. Whether dangerous or simply misguided, it was an encounter none of us wished to experience. It was Christmas of 2016. I, Andre, was 21 years old at the time, and our family had gathered at our Uncle Joshua's place for the holidays in downtown Miami. It was Christmas Eve, and our immediate family, along with cousins and close relatives, decided to enjoy the warm weather of Miami, a stark contrast to our usual Connecticut winter. On the day before Christmas Eve, my brother Nico and I, being young and single, wanted to experience the Miami nightlife. We heard about Christmas-themed parties happening at various clubs and bars. Although Nico, at 18, had a fake ID, our attempts to enter one club failed due to an exorbitant cover charge and the bouncer exposing Nico's fake ID. Undeterred, we found another bar with people sporting Santa hats, giving the night a festive vibe. Nico struck up a conversation with an older woman wearing a blue Santa hat and a provocatively themed Christmas sweater. The conversation seemed odd, with the woman expressing her fondness for younger guys with Hispanic accents. Ignoring the strange vibes, I let Nico enjoy his attention. As the night progressed, Nico informed me that he was leaving with the woman. Assuming he was spending the night elsewhere, I stayed a bit longer at the bar before calling an Uber back to our uncle's place. However, during the ride, my phone rang with Nico on the line. All I heard was static and unfamiliar male voices. The call abruptly ended, leaving me concerned. Attempting to reach Nico failed until someone picked up his phone. However, it wasn't Nico. It was an older man with a deep voice who claimed to have found the phone on the sidewalk. Disturbingly, I heard screams in the background, Nico pleading for help. Panicking, I asked the stranger to return the phone or meet me somewhere, but he remained silent and the call disconnected. Freaking out, I explained the situation to the Uber driver, who urged me to call the police. When we arrived at my uncle's place, I woke up my family and informed them of Nico's peril. Describing the woman from the bar and the timeline of events, my dad, the police, and I went to the bar. Amidst the chaos, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Nico, gasping for breath, explaining he had been kidnapped but managed to escape. We rushed to his location, finding him on a sketchy street in North Miami with a battered face, 2 black eyes, and all his belongings stolen. According to Nico, the woman had called a fake Uber, leading to a terrifying ordeal. 2 men in the car threatened him, and they drove for a while, stopping in a secluded area. Nico, fearing for his life, managed to escape when they released him, running for safety. The police couldn't identify the woman from bar footage, and none of the men wore masks, intensifying Nico's belief that they intended to harm him. Although the incident cast a dark shadow on our holiday weekend, we were grateful that Nico survived. However, on Christmas night, Nico's screams woke us all. He was convinced the woman was in the house, triggering unsettling memories of her creepy smile. That night, I slept with one eye open, haunted by the events that had unfolded during what should have been a joyful holiday. A couple of years ago, my brother George and I purchased a small house together. The first year in our new home, we decided to host Christmas as a way of introducing our family to the place and bringing everyone together. Our family isn't the largest, consisting of just the 2 of us, our parents, our aunt and uncle, a cousin, our sister, and her 2 nephews. Since our sister lived 2 hours away, she and her family, including their dog, Mika, planned to spend the night at our house. During Christmas dinner, the conversation briefly turned to the recent murders in our area, where bodies had been found in the woods of our county. The topic didn't last long, as our mom and sister wanted to keep the holiday atmosphere cheerful, especially for the kids. After dinner, the family enjoyed some wine in the living room, with a Christmas movie playing in the background. As the night progressed, family members slowly departed until only George, my sister, her husband, their kids, and I remained. The kids went to bed, leaving the 4 of us to enjoy more wine. My girlfriend also joined us later that night, and eventually, Christmas night came to an end. I woke up to my girlfriend shaking me, the room still dark. Groggily, I checked the clock, and it was past 2 a.m. Wondering what was wrong, my girlfriend whispered for me to listen. Mika was growling in the hall, and I noticed the back door wide open, letting in a cold breeze. As I approached, I heard George's voice calling my name from the darkness outside, sounding distant, as though he was in the woods. Worried, I went back to the room to tell my girlfriend and put on my shoes and coat. Stepping outside with a flashlight, I saw footprints leading from the back door to the woods. George's voice continued calling my name from the woods, and I followed the footprints until they mysteriously faded away. Yelling for George, I felt uncomfortable venturing further into the woods, afraid of getting lost. I tried calling George's phone, but he didn't answer. The yelling stopped, and the woods fell into eerie silence. Suddenly my phone rang, and I hoped it was George, but it was my girlfriend, telling me that George was in his bedroom. Confused and scared, I asked her to check if my sister's husband was still on the couch, and she confirmed that he was. Feeling a sense of dread, I ran back towards the house, fearing someone might grab me. Once inside, everyone was awake, and when I recounted the strange events, Mika growling, open back door, and the mysterious voice in the woods, they looked horrified. We debated calling the police and eventually did so. An officer arrived, asked questions about theft or potential threats, and left, advising us to call back if anything else happened. To this day, I can't logically explain the bizarre events of that night. I remain fearful of going into or near the woods after dark, haunted by the memory of that inexplicable Christmas night. On a cold winter day, in a dimly lit shop tucked away in a quiet corner, Emily, who sold Christmas decorations and items, was experiencing strange occurrences that turned the holiday season into a nightmare. As the lights flickered in the shop on the quiet street, Entering felt like unleashing something. With the echoing sound of the wind, it seemed like an invisible presence was wandering inside. The first signs were the Christmas decorations on the shelves moving spontaneously. However, it was evident that it wasn't the result of the wind, as the invisible entity seemed to animate the decorations as if putting on a show. Every time they stopped, I felt like there was an unseen observer around me. One day, an old music box in the shop started playing by itself. Yet, I had not put that music box up for sale. As the melancholic melody echoed through the shop, I sensed a connection with the invisible entity that seemed to be wandering around. Perhaps it was an old memory left by the previous shop owner. As days passed, the events intensified. Items on the shelves rearranged themselves, and Christmas trees made mysterious sounds. Each time, I felt the presence of an undefined entity around me, yet I couldn't see it. The eerie events in the shop turned into a state where I didn't want to go home at night. One Christmas night, after closing the shop and heading home, peace was still elusive. As I lay in bed, a faint breeze swept through the room. Abruptly opening my eyes, I was horrified to see a silhouette standing before me. The silhouette in the form of a woman approached me with a cold smile. Her eyes were filled with empty blackness, and her voice had an eerie tone. "While the Christmas spirit roams, it should take you along," she said, reaching out her hands. When I woke up, I was sitting up in bed, drenched in sweat. The line between reality and dreams was becoming increasingly blurred. Yet after that day, the strange events in the shop only escalated. The Christmas spirit seemed to be trying to draw me in, wandering around me. Each time I felt its cold breath on my neck, and every night I gazed into those black eyes.